Just append the apps. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I think today is third day of your training program on disaster management. Today we are going to discuss about disaster management and NGO's role in managing disaster. So here we are going to understand what is an NGO, because you are all new to the word NGO. I think many of them do not know really what is NGO, because the term NGO is very ambiguous. It's non-governmental organization. It includes too many institutions, organizations, which is not only serving community, but also doing some kind of business and service. So, understanding NGOs. NGO means non-governmental organization. So, the body of NGO is registered under Society Act, Trust Act, Cooperatives Act. So, they are all NGOs. NGO is an independent autonomous organization and are non-profit organization. Here, there is a difference. For example, hospitals. Hospitals are also, private hospitals are also NGO, and educational institutions, schools, private schools and college, they are also non-governmental organization. But here I am using the term NGO only for social service organization. They are voluntarily doing social service, and it's independent, autonomous, as well as non-profit organization. Their aim is not making profit. It's not a business firm. It's not making profit. It's community service. With the aim of community service, they are working. They do not come under the system of and control of government. Some organization receive funds from government. Some are semi-government organizations. They are also have the structure of non-governmental organization, but we use the term semi-government because some ex officio members are there in their registered body. That's why it's semi-government. The main motto of NGO is empowerment of underprivileged sector of society, weaker section of the society, maybe child, women, or SC, ST population, or some are working for disabled people. They are all disadvantaged group of society. And in general, overall development of society and ecology. So, they work for community. Within the community, they work for disadvantaged population, as well as they also work for environment or ecology. They mobilize finance from local, national, and international donors, as well as CSR funds. Business firms, there is a rule in corporate sector. They have to reserve 2% of their profit for social service. That is CSR funds. They make use of those funds for community development. For example, TVS company is there in Nanjangud. So they put aside 2% of its profit for community development. It is the rule in Company Act. That's why the fund is there for social service, and these NGOs are utilizing those funds for community development. Some business organization, they have formulated their own societies for development. TVS and as well as Infosys and Wipro, they have their own NGOs. They transfer that fund from corporate office to social service organization, and they do social service. They have their separate team for social service. The other organizations do not want to divert their focus, and they transfer the fund to working NGOs. So these NGOs mobilize funds locally and from government and also from international donors. For example, for NGOs, Mayrada, Vivekananda, Girijana Kalyana Kendra, Mahila Samakya. Mahila Samakya is a semi-government organization. Seva. And there are likewise many organizations are there. Mayrada. You have very much aware of Mayrada, and you are also aware of Dr. Sudarshan, Vivekananda Girijana Kalyana Kendra. And there is also CBOs, community-based organization. People themselves form groups and registered under Society Acts. We call them as community-based organization, not as NGOs, but they form their organization for their own development. That's why we call them as community-based organizations. So, all NGOs have some legal framework. They have to work within that limit. Though they are independent and autonomous, they are abide by bylaws of the society. They do not violate the laws of the nation and also of constitution. In case the organization is receiving fund from foreign donors, they have to follow the guidelines of Foreign Contribution Act, which is formulated by Government of India. They have to submit regular reports and financial audited statements to Home Ministry. It means they have to follow rules. Similarly, they have to follow the rules of Income Tax Department, because whatever the money received, the department, Income Tax Department, give exemption, some kind of exemption from tax, but they have to follow the rules. Whatever the money comes, the members do not take their share like business firms. They have to utilize that amount for social betterment. They work as per the objectives mentioned in the bylaw. For example, some organizations work for women's health, some for nutrition, some for tribal development, tribal education, for land rights, for people's rights, some for giving training for women elected representatives, and some work for agriculture, and some for environmental issues. Likewise, they work according to their objectives mentioned in their bylaws. Every NGO has specific geographical area of operation. So, unlike government, they have a small patch of working area. Some taluks, some districts, some villages. It depends on their funding and capability and staff, etc. There are so many norms. But it has a specific area of operation. They limit their work to some small patch of our society and has limited staff pattern. So let us come to disaster management. I am not going into too much detail about disaster management because you already know what is disaster management. But I am going to repeat it in a short way. Disaster means any occurrence that causes damage, ecological disruption, loss of human life, or deterioration of health and health services on a scale sufficient to warrant an extraordinary response from outside the affected community and area. That is WHO, World Health Organization's definition of disaster. Disaster has two types, natural and man-made. Natural, disaster occurs natural, like earthquake, tsunami, drought, forest fire, landslides, blizzards, hurricane, tornado, flood, volcano. These are all natural disaster, and some are man-made disaster also there. Hazardous, leakage of hazardous or toxic substances from or chemicals in factories, radiological accidents, failure of dams, shortage of resources like food and water, explosions, terrorism, war, riots. These are all man-made disasters. So there are different phases of disaster. So one is before disaster, pre-impact phase. We call it as pre-impact phase. This is initial phase of disaster. That is, we forecast, we anticipate that this is going to happen. Technology has improved very much. With the help of those technology, we can forecast that tsunami is going to happen or flood is going to happen. So, if we know it early, we take preparatory measures, safety measures beforehand. This is initial phase of disaster. Warning is given prior to the occurrence of disaster. Emergency centers are opened. People must be educated. So the second one is impact phase. During the occurrence of disaster, emergency centers has been established, physical and psychological support, medical support, and other kind of supports to victims of disaster. We are going to work for rescue the victims of disaster. The third one is post-impact phase. After the happening of disaster, this is recovery stage. Community is returning to normal situation. So, with the help of community, with the help of NGOs, government organization, other technical expertise, and other funding agencies, they converge services to bring the situation into normal phase. That is post-impact phase. In all the three phases, NGOs work hand in hand with the government. So, disaster management bodies. So, within government system, we have different bodies for the management of disaster at different levels. The first at the apex bodies, NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority at national level. That is the apex body to take major decisions under the chairmanship of Prime Minister. He is ex officio chairman. And it formulates policies and coordinate implementation and enforcement of policies. It's a policy making body. It takes all major decisions about disaster management. and it approves plan prepared by government departments. For example, flood. The concerned department prepares the plan and get approved from National Disaster Management Authority. So, the body creates guidelines to state authorities and government departments and ensure a timely and effective response to disaster. So overall monitoring, giving planning, policy guidelines, and overall monitoring of state and government departments in disaster management. It recommends and channels funds. It runs awareness campaign on earthquake and other extreme weather. It forecasts the disaster and give awareness, run awareness campaigns for the community safety, for community safety. At state level, State Disaster Management Authority is DMA, is chaired by Chief Minister of the state with other members appointed by him or nominated by him. It draws state disaster management level. At state level, it draws plan and also responsible for the implementation of the national plan. It develops its own plan within the state and also follow whatever the National Disaster Management Authority gives direction. It is responsible for coordinating disaster response and risk reduction. So it has to forecast. It has to take safety measures beforehand. It's the responsibility of state authority. It gives directions for mitigation, readiness, and response and recovery actions. So how to get ready for disaster? That is the responsibility of the state authority. At district level, District Disaster Management Authority, DDMA, chaired by District Collector and other municipal chairman, Superintendent of Police, Chief Medical Officer, and 2 district level officers. Identification of areas of vulnerability. They have to identify the areas. Prepare districts level disaster management plans. Respond to disaster and provide relief. Respond and relief activities is its major job, and procurement of essential resources. It's responsibility of district authority, district body. This is the different phases of disaster management. Disaster happens, beforehand preparation, after the disaster response, recovery, and mitigation. Mitigation is reducing the effects of disaster. So preparedness prior to disaster activities like planning, educating community, conducting emergency exercises, trainings and warning system. These are all preparedness for a disaster. Response during after the disaster, emergency operations, searching, evacuation of people and rescuing people, opening shelters, temporary shelters, providing medical help and other financial help. These are all response level. Recovery means activities following disaster, temporary housing, shelter, claims, insurance claims if any, long-term medical care, counseling. These are all recovery activities. Mitigation means activities that reduces the effects of disaster. Public education, vulnerability analysis, developing disaster prevention strategies. So by creating what is going to happen, how it happens, what we are going to do in that situation, what measures we have to take. These are public education. They use media and other tools to educate people and identify and analyze vulnerability areas and develop prevention strategies. These are the efforts to reduce mitigation. So again, we come back to NGOs' role. So what is the role of NGOs in disaster management? So before, in previous days, NGOs are involved based on the need. There is no pakka plan for their involvement. They have no clear-cut role assignment. But in recently, so after the formation of apex bodies at this national level, at state level and district level, they have clear-cut roles assigned in the management of disaster. The role of NGOs started changing from providing post-disaster relief to strengthening pre-disaster preparedness and mitigation through capacity building, public awareness camps, and mock exercises, workshops, conferences, and etc. So, there is nothing important, significant in post-disaster relief. It happens, we are going to help people. That is one thing. But the important thing is beforehand how we are going to prepare people to face the challenge. That is very important. That is why NGOs are engaged in preparedness, preparing people for people to face the disaster and mitigation, reducing the effects of disaster through building capacity, that is giving training, information and skill training to community. Through public awareness campaigns, they use media also, social medias to campaign, and they conduct mock exercise. For example, in IT companies, how to act in case of fire accident. They do mock exercises. Which are the ways, which are the doors we have to go out, which are the doors are closed, and how to go. Don't use the lift, go by stairs. So this is through mock exercise, it's a kind of training, and conducting workshops on disasters management. What are the techniques? What are the safety measures we have to take? So NGOs have also started to collaborate with corporate entities in public-private partnerships. So government have programs, we call it as public PPP, triple P, public-private partnership programs. So here government as well as private NGOs and other organizations, companies, corporates, they are also take initiatives in managing disaster at state level, at district level, sub-district level, taluk level. So it's convergence of services for the said task. Collaboration with NGOs. Considering the role that NGO can play in development, especially in encouraging participation of and empowering communities, strengthening democratic institutions and improving access to basic services like health, education, the government started promoting collaboration with these entities. Why they invited NGOs means NGOs have good rapport with the community. They are working with community. They have good rapport with people. That's why it's very easy for them to approach people and empower the community and strengthen democratic institutions like Panchayat Raj institutions to take proper actions during the disaster time. So Planning Commission was designated in 2000 as the nodal agency for NGO state interactions. They decide where to involve NGOs and where not to involve NGOs and take independent decisions by government. The National Policy on Voluntary Sector is formulated in 2007 was the first step in the process of evolving a new working relationship between government and voluntary organization, that is NGOs. The policy recognizes three instruments of partnership. How they work with government. One is consultation. It's a formal process of interaction at center, state, and district level. They give consultation, what to do, what not to do, because they have specific expertise. They have technical knowledge sometimes. Sometimes they have technical knowledge. Sometimes they have experience, field experience. With that experience, they give consulting advice to government. Strategic collaboration to tackle complex interventions where situated social mobilization is critical over long term. With the long term aim, they strategize how to work. They involve in the activities of day-to-day aspects of disaster management with the long-term vision. The project funding through standard schemes. So, they receive funds from government for specific actions. So, they play important role in different phases of disaster management. One is immediate and emergency relief and response. This is very essential, very needy at the time of disaster. This that important is search and rescue, searching individual at the site of disaster. ಹುಡುಕ್ಬೇಕು ಅವ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗಾಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, wherever they are sticken. So NGOs has trained a team of volunteers and also humanitarian professionals. They are experts who are specialized in search and rescue operations. They go hand in hand with military troops, paramilitary troops. In disaster-stricken areas, these volunteers locate and rescue individuals trapped in. So, emergency aids. They provide immediate relief to, that is drinking water, food, medicine, that is immediate need, or taking the affected victims to hospitals. These are immediate needs, emergency needs. They provide this kind of relief work. Medical and psychological support. They provide first aid medical care to victims and help seriously injured to approach hospitals. They refer serious cases to hospitals. It also provides counseling services to address trauma and mental health challenges, sometimes children also. And logistics. They make arrangements to establish communication system, re-establish. ಅದೆಲ್ಲ destroy ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ at the time of disaster. So they take steps to re-establish communication system and other logistics like temporary shelter, setting up of community kitchens and medical help centers, child care help centers, all those things, logistics. Recovery, rehabilitation and reconstruction. So livelihood restoration. NGOs facilitate the recovery of affected communities by taking livelihood restoration programs. They bring back their livelihood. Keeping a long-term goal, it provides skill training. They have lost everything. Victims have lost everything. They have to start their livelihood from ABC. That's why they get skill training and they help them to start income generation programs to bring back their livelihood. So rebuilding infrastructure, helping them to rebuild homes and essential infrastructures in a sustainable and resilient manner. Schools, healthcare centers, shops, these are all essential infrastructures. Preparedness and mitigation. It's an act of preparing for and responding to disaster. The act involves anticipating, forecasting, mitigating, and recovering from effects of disaster. It can reduce the loss of life, property, and also reduces anxiety, mental health, with the proper counseling help. It includes planning to face disaster, building emergency kit, skill building, removing hazards, linkage with community, etc. So these are preparedness for disaster and also reducing the effect of disaster. Next is assessment of risk. So government has to take some safety measures. That's why it needs what are the things happened. So assessment is necessary. NGOs are involved in assessment of risk and basic needs of people affected by disaster and ensure that these are met. So in a way, it brings linkage. It acts as a bridge between government and community. So it's helps people to approach government programs. So it helps to identify potential areas of vulnerability to disaster. Risk reduction. So by educating community, giving awareness programs through workshops, trainings, it educates the community about disasters, risks, and promote safety measures. Capacity building. It gives training to local community on disaster response, first aid, and creating emergency plans. So, in a way, through training, it enhances the capacity of community. Early warning system. Helping to establish and implement early warning system to give advance notice of disaster. So, with the help of technology, forecasting weather. So, giving prior hand information to community to get ready for the disaster, to take safety measures beforehand. NGO can mobilize existing networks like NGOs, social medias, especially social medias, very important. Farmers group, village health committees, education committees, and panchayats for creating public awareness at local level effectively. They utilize all resources. They converge all resources in preparing people for the situation. Coordination and collaboration. Information sharing. NGOs foster collaboration with government agencies and other NGOs and international organizations to share information and techniques and coordinate collective efforts. All together, NGOs, government, corporate sectors, funding agencies, donors, panchayats, they all share the information and work together collectively. So collective efforts is better and give proper results, a desired result. Advocacy. So lobbying. Working with government and other bodies to advocate for policies change which focus on disaster risk reduction and community empowerment. If there is no fund for particular aspects of disaster management, it lobby with the government to put aside a proper fund for disaster management or any other kind of policies. It may need a temporary formation of temporary body to manage risk. So policy can change it. So that's why NGOs lobby for that policy change. NGOs' role in mitigation. Mitigation means reducing the severity of human and material damage caused by disaster. It consists of efforts towards preventing hazardous conditions from becoming disaster or minimizing their effects in the event of disaster. This minimizes the effects of disaster. It's an effort to reduce the impact of disaster on people, property, economy, and ecology. So the impact is not only on people, it's on all lives, animal lives, or property, or economy, ecology. So everything is interconnected. So it works to reduce the impact of disaster on all of these. So protection of property, modifying buildings. So they use different techniques to build homes. For example, in earthquake areas, the construction, they have adopted different technology, which is suitable for earthquake. So, likewise, modifying the techniques or technology to reduce the severity of disaster. They make them more resistant to natural threats. So, for example, in Brahmaputra, every year we can see the flood. They extend to kilometers together. In that area, they construct temporary huts on the banks of Brahmaputra. They do agriculture activities. At the time of flood, they move to safety areas, leaving their homes. It's a kind of temporary arrangements made. So it does not affect their regular activities of farmers. They do agriculture, and at the time of flood, they move to other areas and start other activities, weaving and silkworm reading. These are activities. So this is the different methods, strategies of protecting people. Train construction workers to adopt new techniques of construction and eco-friendly and disabled-friendly system. So, they give training to construction workers how to build a safe home in earthquake areas, how to build home at flood areas, regular flood areas. These are the things they take care of. Protecting ecosystem from soil erosion, wetland restoration, watershed management. So agricultural aspects. So we have to take care of agriculture system, constructing bunds, which prevent soil erosion. These are prevention measures. Awareness to follow safety measures like wearing masks during toxic gas leakages. For example, Union Carbide, leakage of toxic gases.
क्या है?
So,
अरे ये 26 आने नहीं देगा मुझे लग रहा है क्या?
so they give awareness to take safety measures by wearing masks, by wearing gloves, by wearing. These are the measures. They give awareness with that about that. Train staff to face emergencies. In case of emergencies, how to face. In case of earthquake, what we need to do. In case of flood, what we need to do. In case of toxic gas leakage, what we need to do. In case of fire accident, what we need to do. These are trainings they conduct according to their risks areas. Taking proper measures to dispose waste, sanitation and drinking water to prevent further complications. In disaster sites, these are worsening situations. Waste management, sanitation management, and proper drinking water, availability of drinking water. These are challenges to disaster management committees. So they have to take proper measures to dispose waste and sanitation and to make arrangements for drinking water. Advocacy, otherwise infections. We have to face health complications, infections, cholera, all those things will arise. Advocacy with local government, corporates and policymakers to provide emergency needs of the community. If there is any emergency need, they motivate corporates and other donors to provide those needs, to help the people to get those needs. And also lobby with the government to get that as a program, to get proper programs. During climate change, NGOs work to reduce carbon emission by giving awareness, propagate rainwater harvesting, promoting social forestry, soil conservation, and so on. So What is their role in disaster response? Disaster response is a phase of disaster management where action taken before, during, and after disaster to save lives, ensure safety, and help people to meet their needs, like warning and evacuation of people, alerting people to potential disaster and help them to leave the area. Search and rescue. Those who are caught, searching for them and rescuing for them, finding and providing help to people who are trapped and injured, giving immediate help to keep people alive. Whatever medical help they need, they make arrangements to help them. Giving immediate assistance like food, water, shelter to victims. Taking care of sanitation, waste disposal, medical assistance, and psychological and moral support. So this is very important, psychological and moral support, because the family, they lost family members, they might have lost, or they lost everything. So moral support is very essential. Making damage assessment, repair and rebuilding of damaged things, infrastructure. Maintaining ethics. So they are voluntary workers. They do not have payments. They are not paid workers. They are giving their voluntary services. They ensure respect for human being and right to receive assistance. So why they are giving voluntary service? Because they respect human beings, dignity of human beings, and their right to receive assistance. Every individual have right to receive assistance and take steps to minimize the harm. So further harming, they prevent further harming. Respect culture and customs. They respect culture and customs. During COVID, at the time of burying, the people follow their customs. Though they are not relatives, not friends, they do not know the people, but still they follow their customs. That is the respect they need to give for them. NGO in India is working for disaster management. Some NGOs, Rapid Response, Sakal Relief Fund, Care India, Smile Foundation, Hindrise, Helpage India, Oxfam, Action Aid India. These are Oxfam and Action Aid India funding agencies. They do not work directly in the field, but they give funds to NGOs who are working for disaster management. And Ramakrishna Mission, it's a spiritual organization, but also does social services. Akshay Patra Foundation and so on. Some organizations are recognized, nominated, identified and nominated for particular disasters by government, national government of India. They make use of their services because they have that particular expertise. Thank you. So now the question hour. If you have any questions or if you want to discuss anything, so the forum is open for you. So you have seen so many disasters. COVID, at the time of COVID, I have seen so many things. Tsunami has seen so many things. Landslides, flood. These are recent happenings. Flood in Kerala, flood in Uttar Karnataka, landslide in Madkera and Himalaya. So many things I have seen. And similarly, man-made disaster I also seen. Union Carbide Company leakage, fire accidents. These are man-made things I have seen. So you might have read in newspapers. If you have any questions to discuss about NGOs participation in disaster management, you can ask questions. Though I am not an expert, but I know how much NGOs can involve in the management of disaster.
ಮೇಡಮ್ ನಮಸ್ತೆ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಮೇಡಮ್ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ NGO ಜೊತೆ ಸೇರ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ತಗೋಬೇಕಾ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ NGO ಜೊತೆ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಡಿಸಾಸ್ಟರ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನ ಕುರಿತಾದಂತಹ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ತೊಡಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದಾ ಮೇಡಮ್?
ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್. ಯಾವುದೇ NGOs ಜೊತೆ ನೀವು ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ಆದರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಹರ್ಡ್ಲ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಕೆಲವು ಕಡೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟೈಸ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟೈಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ನೀವೇ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದೇ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ. ಸೊ ಏನೋ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಮುಗುಗಿಂತ ಮುಗುತಿ ಬಾರ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ, ಹಾಗೆ ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗು ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಕೆಲವು ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲೂ ಅಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮಗೇನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟೈಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕಂತೆ ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಎ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್, ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್, ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗಿವ್ ಅಸಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಪೀಪಲ್. ಅಥವಾ ನೀವು ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಥ್ರೂ, ಈಗ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಮೀಡಿಯಾಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ಫಂಡ್ ರೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್. ಅದು ಟಿವಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಪೇಪರ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ನೀವು ನೋಡಿರ್ತೀರಿ. ಫಂಡ್ ರೈಸಿಂಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾಲಮ್ ಅನ್ನೇ ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಹೋಗಿ ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೋ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಆಫೀಸಿಂದ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲ್ನ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅಂತ ಕಡೆ ನೀವು ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ಅಥವಾ ರೆಸ್ಕ್ಯೂನಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟೈಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಸರ್ಚಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಸ್ಕ್ಯೂ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಸೆನ್ಸಿಟಿವ್. ನಾವೊಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಆರ್ಮಿಯವ್ರನ್ನ ಕರ್ಸೋದು. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಟ್ರೈನ್ ಆಗಿರತ್ತೆ, ಹೇಗೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ರೆಸ್ಕ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾಡೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ. ಬಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರೂ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ, ನಾನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಆದರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಗತ್ಯ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟೈಸ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್.
ಓಕೆ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಲವು NGOs ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಬರ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಥಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಜನ ಕಳ್ತನ ಮಾಡೋವಂಥದ್ದು, ಅದು ಸಿಗತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಆ ಥರ ಹೋಗುವವರು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಗಮನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವರು ನೋಡಿ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಟ್. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ಸಾಧ್ಯ. ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದೆಯಾ?
Ma'am, how NGOs promote sustainable recovery through livelihood support, rebuilding homes, and long-term community development, and how government is helping you? How active are they? Because NGOs are helping people, but then, the governmental agencies also have to support NGOs so that, you can restore the livelihood as fast as possible. So how are they doing it, ma'am?
So they converge services. For example, they identify the donors for funding for construction of homes. For example, during tsunami, JSS ಮಠ ಅವರು ಮನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕಟ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥವ್ರನ್ನ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ನೀಡ್ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅವರಿಂದ ಏನು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಕೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದು ಒಂದು ರೂಪ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಏನೋ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರಿ, ಒಂದು ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು
ಲೈವ್ಲಿಹುಡ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್.
ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ದೇ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಹೋಮ್, ದೇರ್ ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ಸ್, ದೇರ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ. ಅಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೌನ್ಸಲಿಂಗು, ಒಂಥರ ಮಾರಲ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರತ್ತೆ. ಅಂಥದ್ದನ್ನ NGOs ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಕೌನ್ಸಲರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಕಿಲ್ ಟ್ರೈನಿಂಗ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವರು ಹೊಸ ಲೈವ್ಲಿಹುಡ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಜೊತೆ ಲಿಂಕೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಜೊತೆ ಲಿಂಕೇಜ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಲೈಫ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನೇನ್ ಬೇಕೋ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಲಿಂಕೇಜಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೊ ಮಚ್.
ಟೈಮ್ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ತನಕ ಇದೆ? 1 o'clock?
ಹೌದು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ತುಂಬಾ ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆ. ಕೆಲವು ಸತಿ NGOs ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈಗ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಕಾರ್ಬೈಡ್ ಟ್ರಾಜಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಪನ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಂಪ್ನಿ ಒಪ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ. ಆಗ ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ NGOs ಆರ್ಗನೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಥ್ರೂಔಟ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಅವರು ಒಪ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕೊಡುವ ಹಾಗೆ ಪ್ರೆಷರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಸೊ ಇಂಥ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ NGOs ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಲೀಗಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸು ಕೂಡ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಫ್ರೀಯಾಗಿ ಲೀಗಲ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಲಿಟಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಕೋರ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಸ್ ಹಾಕುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪನ್ಸೇಷನ್ಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ಶೂರೆನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಲೀಗಲ್ ಬಾಡೀಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಆ NGOಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಇದ್ದಾವೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ನೀವು ಫ್ರೀ ಲೀಗಲ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಕೆಲವು ಸತಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅವರೇನೆ ಕೂಡ ಕೇಸನ್ನು ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಲಿಟಿಗೇಷನ್ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಸ್ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥದ್ದು ಇದೆ. ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಡಿಸಿದಂಥದ್ದು ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಲಾಬಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೆಷರ್ ಹಾಕಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರವೇ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಆಕ್ಷನ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋವಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು ಇದೆ.
ಬಟ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್? ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ದಟ್ ದೇ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ಡ್ ಹೋಮ್, ದೇ ಪ್ರಾಮಿಸ್ಡ್ ಜಾಬ್, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್, ಬಟ್ ಏನು ಆ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿರಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್? ಬಟ್ ಹೌ ವಿಲ್ ದೇ ಸಸ್ಟೈನ್?
ಸರ್ಕಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ.
ಓಕೆ.
ಬಜೆಟೆಡ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ.
ಓಕೆ.
ಆ ಫಂಡ್ ಬೇಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಕ್ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಫಂಡ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂದಾಗ ಅದು ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಅವರ ಇಚ್ಛಾಶಕ್ತಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅವ್ರು ಏನಾದರೂ ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಮೊಬಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಆ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿಗೆ ಈಗಲೇ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋಂಥ ಕಡೆ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ NGOs ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಅವಲಂಬಿಸಲ್ಲ. ಬೇರೆ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಡೋನರ್ಸ್ ಫಂಡ್ಗೆ, ಈವನ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಡೋನರ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ಎಕ್ಸಸೈಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಆಕ್ಚುಲ್ ಆಗಿ NGOs ಹತ್ರನೂ ಕೂಡ ಹಣ ಇದ್ರೂ ಅವರು ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಲೀಗಲ್ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅವರು ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಹಣ ತರಿಸಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಆ
ಹೌದು.
ಹಣ ತೆಗೆದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ.
Oh.
ಆಗ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಆಗುವಂತ ಬ್ಲ್ಯಾಕ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ ಹಂಗೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ. ಸೊ ಹಣ ಇದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಹಣನ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಪೋಸಲ್ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಡೋನರ್ಸ್ನ ಮೊಬಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸಮಯ ಹಿಡಿಯತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಇಂಥದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಫಂಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಕೆಲವು ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಏಜೆನ್ಸೀಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಫಾರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ಕಡೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಫಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ಹುಟ್ಟುದಬ್ಬ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಪೂಜೆ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ದೇವಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ. ಅವರು ಆಗಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಫಂಡನ್ನು ಈ ಥರ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ಗೆ ಅಂತ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಡೊನೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಫಂಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಕ್ಯುಮುಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದೊಂದು ಆ ಥರ ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಏಜೆನ್ಸಿಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ.
ಬಟ್ ಇವಾಗ CSR ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಬೆನಿಫಿಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್?
ಮೊದಲು ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಇಂದ ತುಂಬಾ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗಿನ ಟ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಆಯಾ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗಳೇ ಪ್ಯಾರಲಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು NGO ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಅವರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಕ್ಟಿವಿಟೀಸ್ಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ವಿಪ್ರೋ ಇದೆ, ವಿಪ್ರೋದು ಒಂದು NGO ಇದೆ. ಆ NGO ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು, ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ಗೆ ಅದು ಫಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತೆಗೆದು PM ಫಂಡ್ಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಥ್ರೂ PM ಫಂಡ್ ಅಥವಾ CM ಫಂಡ್ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನ ರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ, ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. ಹಾಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಅಪರೂಪದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಥರನೂ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಥರ ಈಗ ಇನ್ಫೋಸಿಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರದೇ ಓನ್ ಇದೆ, ವಿಪ್ರೋದ ಅವ್ರದೇ ಓನ್ ಇದೆ, TVS ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಅವ್ರದೇ ಓನ್ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ಇದು ITC ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಅವ್ರದೇ ಓನ್ ಇದೆ. ಈ ತರ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಮ್ಯಾಮ್.
ಇನ್ನು ಟೈಮ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೇನಾದ್ರು ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡೋದಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾಡಿ.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಮೇಡಮ್, ನಂದೊಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ.
ಹಾ.
ಮೇಡಮ್, ಕಲ್ಪಕಂನಲ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂಗ ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಸ್ಥಾಪನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ NGOಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರತಿಭಟನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಅದು ಫಾರಿನ್ ಫಂಡೆಡ್ ಪ್ರತಿಭಟನೆ, ಭಾರತ ವಿರೋಧಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಅಲಿಗೇಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂತು. ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ? NGOಗಳು ಈ ತರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ ಅನ್ನೋಂಥದ್ದು.
ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನನಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ಲೋಕಲ್ ಅವರು ತಕ್ಷಣ ಪ್ರತಿಭಟನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರತಿಭಟನೆ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ತನಕ ಬೆಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದರೆ ಅದರ ರಿಸಲ್ಟು ನಾವು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಂಗೆ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಹಂಗಾಗದೆ ಆ ಲೋಕಲ್ಗೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಅದರದ್ದು ಇಂಪ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರೆಷರ್